Is this love? Keep quiet, he said. I was so young and naive, thinking that Joe was the love of my life. When I was in 8th grade, I met Joe, the pastor's son at church. To be honest, I felt intimidated by him when I first saw him because of his age. He was 20 while I was only 14. But he always made me laugh, and I started to like him. When he told me that he liked me too, it was the happiest day of my life because I finally felt like I wasn't ugly, and there was someone out there who could love me. I wanted to be with him, but there was no way we could be together because of our age. So Joe told me that this would be our little secret. Joe started to get very jealous of every move I made. He would keep an eye on whom I talked to and would often get angry about my friends. I felt really trapped, but I loved him so much and I couldn't see what was happening. So, little by little, he was able to control my life completely. Who I talked with, how I dressed. I would have to ask for his permission if I wanted to go to a party or even the movies. But I was so naive and was convinced that this is how love is supposed to be. I had no idea what I had gotten myself into. One day, he told me I needed to respect the church, so jeans were not an option anymore. That I had to wear a skirt for our next service or he would dump me. I didn't like wearing skirts and never felt comfortable in them, but I just couldn't afford to lose him. Ever since being with Joe, I was no longer picked on at school because, for the first time, people looked up to me. So I really wanted to keep it that way. And even though something about it didn't feel right, I got the skirt anyway, just to please him. The next night, Joe texted me to meet him at school, so I snuck out to see him. When I got into the classroom, the lights were off. I couldn't see anything at all. I tried sticking out my hands to find the light switch, but all I could do was feel a cold, damp wall. It made my hair stick up on my arms, and I started panicking. It was dead silent when suddenly I heard the door shut, and then the lock. I tried to run, but my body was frozen to the spot. When suddenly, I heard footsteps coming closer, and then a hand grabbed my face and pushed me against the wall. That was when I recognized it was Joe. I could smell his cologne, and I felt safe for a moment when he said, "I'm going to make you mine, and you cannot tell anyone about it." He then told me to sit on the desk, and I felt the urge to cry. Perhaps deep down, I knew something bad was about to happen. In all the darkness, I started to feel his hands go up to my skirt, while he shoved his hand over my mouth and said, "Be quiet!" After he was finished, he told me to put my underwear on. When I had a burst of courage and screamed, "I'm going to tell your dad!" And he responded, "Who do you think they are going to believe? You, a pathetic young girl? Or me, the son of the pastor?" Those words broke me down. He managed to get into my head and made me feel worthless. I went to the bathroom and sobbed as I cleaned the blood. I didn't tell anyone what happened that night. Once I got home, Joe called and told me to take a shower and throw my underwear away, and that I couldn't tell anyone what happened because they would blame me. I just did what he told me to do. I threw all the evidence into a bin and tried to scrub his scent off my skin. I couldn't even face my parents. I was so ashamed that I barely left my room. They had always told me that I should be careful around older men, and I didn't listen. So in a lot of ways, I felt like it was my fault. I felt like I had no choice but to let him do what he wanted because he had convinced me that this is true love and that I deserved it. A year after everything had happened, I finally had the courage to confront him and tell him no. That was the moment that he left and told me that I would regret this, but I never did. I never saw him since that day, and I thank God for giving me the courage. Up until now, I still feel too ashamed to tell my family, but I'm working on it. Hopefully this video helps me take that final step on telling. I'm now 23 years old, and life has not been easy since I've kept this a secret. But through all of this, I want to let you know that I don't blame God, the church, the people at church, or even myself for what happened. It wasn't anybody's fault, nor God. Only He was the monster all along. I think the most important thing is that we need to teach people that it is okay to speak up when something like this happens. It is also so important that we educate kids on what is considered love and what is not.